Hello, this is Anna's Homestead. I'm going to assume that you might actually see this 6th or 7th attempt to film the same thing. I've been through hell. I wouldn't wish this on a worst enemy, I'm going to tell you. I had to try to access the site for Canon support to download some EOS software required to upgrade or download videos to the computer itself. And their site was down for maintenance. Yep. Support was down for maintenance. Live chat was down for maintenance. But it's so funny because their shop was not down for maintenance. You could buy stuff. You could go to their forum. I had to create an account for their forum. It was a joke. Finally though, they wanted a survey from me. And I gave them a survey, alright. I'll let them know that the question parts were, are you happy with this, satisfied with your new product? I said no. Of course I wasn't. Because it's been days. And I haven't been able to successfully really upload anything. And couldn't access support. That's a major no satisfaction there at all. It was just a real joke. So in the email portion, that where you get to say other and you get to say your stuff, I gave them my email address and told them, look, I can't even use the camera. Send me the software to my email. This is what it's registered to. And in fact, though, it actually wasn't registered yet because you couldn't access that either. It was just a nightmare. And I don't really know if this is going to record. I do know that the battery's about to die again for like the 3rd or 4th time. I don't even know where to start. So I'd like to take this out and give y'all some better shots, outside of my junkied up corner of my living room and into my kitchen. But this is where we are for now. There's no point in me hopping in a truck and driving miles away and doing a nice video outdoors with some scenery if it's not even going to upload. So until I get through some uploading with some kind of consistency, there's no point in me doing anything but stills. So I really wanted to talk about FlashFronk Prepping and his friend Mike, I think it's Helton, who convinced him to go ahead and start his YouTube channel. And he did, and he put up 3 videos, and one of them was titled Prepper Daily Mentality. And in this, he's pondering what others do on a small scale of prepping. What's their normal day like? What do they do the night before? Do they set up tasks in advance so that they'll go easier? Do they prep for their weekends? What are their weekends like? Just basically how does their time of their days go? Well, I attempted to leave a comment, at least in support of his video contribution. And Anna's Homestead, gosh, who knows how many days ago now, probably 9, 10. It was 6 when I started this. I cannot address an answer to such a question about how my prepping day or days go without doing an entire video series. But it was a very good topic and a very good question. And that was the comment I meant to leave. But it branched off into a much larger comment. And I found that I was able to leave him an actual, more lengthy, detailed about how my days go and how I do prep and how it stretches off into the future over a period of many years. And so I decided, I really should do a video of this. And on another note, I was trying to sleep, and I let videos play on the homesteading channel while I was sleeping. Kind of covers out door noises because I live in a very noisy neighborhood by a freeway and whatnot, and there's a lot of things disturb my sleep. And I woke up and I heard Danny at Deep South Homestead saying how something about people being too lazy to even upload a video. Homesteaders that were too lazy to upload a video. And I was like, it just irked me. I had to shut my computer down because it'd been, running for like at least 12 hours. So, I needed to reboot. So I couldn't like backtrack to find the video that he said that on. It could have been years ago. But I watched several of his videos trying to find it after that, but it really irked me because he was right. I wanted to wait until I got on my homestead to really get my channel going, because I don't want to upload a bunch of stuff that will turn people off to my channel that really aren't even about what my channel is going to focus on. And I can put out a bunch of technical videos and it's just going to make people, when I do have other videos up, they're just not even going to want to click and listen to them. And I really didn't want to kill my channel by doing that. But Danny's right. It's been 4 months since I began to upload videos on there, and they were just camera tests. So, being that I knew Danny was right, I went ahead and invested in my camera equipment now. I really wanted to wait till I was on a homestead. I did not want to have this camera equipment in this apartment. But I went ahead and invested a pretty good sum, and I got me some decent stuff to work with. And I don't consider them toys, I consider them tools. I am extremely disabled, and my disabilities are pretty serious. So I'm going to hop back over to how I prep on a daily basis for even simple tasks in advance. Let's say you've been making coffee. I have an extra coffee can. I like the Folgers Classic Roast in a nice little plastic container. And so when I go in my kitchen and I'm above the coffee pot, which you can probably see just at the edge of the right hand side of the video, in that cabinet, on the left hand side is one coffee can, and on the right hand cabinet is another coffee can. The right hand cabinet has coffee. The one on the left hand side, when you open it up, it's got a package of unused filters still in the stack shoved down to the bottom of the empty coffee container. On top of it are pre-separated, that I separated each and every filter, so that when I reach in, they're not stuck together, they're easy. I just pop the lid, pick a filter out, slap it on the counter, put it back in the cabinet, open the next cabinet, and I get the coffee out, and it's got a pre-measuring spoon in there, and I know just how far from the top of that measuring spoon makes a full pot of coffee. So, it's just pour it in, slap it back into the container. I don't have to really measure anything, out by tablespoons to get the right amounts and all this. It's pretty much if I'm having heart failure symptoms and I can't breathe or walk 3 to 5 feet and I need to lean on the counter to support myself, it's something I'm able to do. So it does matter that I've been able to prep, because I've had some really rough times during the last 8 years with this disability. Now I'm much better, but I still lean on the counter much of the time. I do have some trouble supporting my weight, and it's not, gosh, I don't know, it's not because of heavy pound weightage. It's just that I'm weak. If you've ever seen anything about people who try to climb Mount Everest and how they get up there and they have oxygen sickness and they can't even stay awake, and they can't do small tasks because their brains are compromised and their hearts are compromised, and it affects their breathing. It also, their lungs fill with fluid, they can't breathe, they can't function. I saw a really good medical document one time on how it's very difficult to even assist them to do simple tasks. Well, it amazed me because that's exactly what it's like for me. My symptomology is exactly the same as that. It's no different. Not in any way, shape, or form. That is exactly what it is. And so, I do have to prep. I prep for everything because I may be too weak to, let's say I wake up in the morning and I have 2 or 3 cups of coffee. By the time I've done that and gone to the bathroom, I'm sleepy and I've never even ate. And I have to take a nap. The coffee doesn't even help me to stay awake. It's incredible. And I've had people walk in and look at that coffee because I put ice in it to cool it down. It's a little stronger looking than other people's coffee, and they think I'm drinking, you know, something you can stand a fork up in, with the reaction on their faces. But they really don't understand. It's just so hot. And because of my circulatory problems, even temperature things can burn me that are a lower temperature. And a lot of that has to do with oxygen usage. The more oxygen that's saturated into any object, it burns easier. So oxygen itself does not catch fire. But when oxygen is absorbed into plastics, like for instance the hoses on an oxygen machine, those are what usually catch fire first and create fires in people's homes, because that plastic absorbs so much oxygen that it can now catch fire at a lower temperature. Yeah, it requires a lower temperature to set off a spark. It's really a trip. And any petroleum jelly that might be in the house for any reason, any type of cooking oils, the thinner they're spread, when they absorb that oxygen, they really go up very quickly at a very, very low temperature. I mean, you don't need to strike a match, but let me tell you, and actually petroleum jellies, or any kind of petroleum-based product, which means like body lotions, shampoo, conditioners, all of these things, when they're spread thin in the presence of oxygen, they can spontaneously combust, and they do not even require any form of a fire to start them. Yep. How about that? They don't even need extreme heat to start. They can just do it on their own. So I live in a predominantly black community at this point in time, and you know, they wear a lot of grease on their hair and they use a lot of body lotions, and I have to worry about maintenance personnel when they come into my apartment if they're at risk of spontaneous combustion. And that's true. I also have to worry about them walking straight to my electrical box, because if they go slamming it off, there's 2 things that they can do. They can destroy the hard drive on my computer, and they can blow up my oxygen machine by turning it off and on like that. They are at risk, even turning them on and off normally, they are at risk to explode. That's in the booklet for safety. So yeah, it's been rough. I think I'm gonna end this video here, but maybe I won't. Prepping. Well, let's go back to prepping. I do all my dishes constantly. There's never anything in the sink dirty. Very rarely. Because I might be too ill to fix a meal for myself. So, you know, if I'm too ill and there's even just a saucepan in there, a cup and a plate, and by the time I watch that, I'm physically exhausted and I've got to sit down. And it may be another half hour before I'm going to feel well enough to go in there and cook something to eat. And is that because maybe my circulation pulls in my legs? I don't know. You know, I mean, there's a lot of reasons. I don't know if you probably can't see out the window from what I can see in this little LCD monitor. But there's a mountain out there that supposedly from it you can see distances of 7 different states in the United States from that mountain. That mountain is less than a mile from me, and most of the time, like now, I can't even make out a bush on it. I can barely make out. I can make out the outline for the sky today. So, but some days you can't even tell it from the sky. And that mountain I thought was just the size that you see it for years while I lived here. And you know, then when I was no longer homeless and I was online on the computer, to my discovery, that mountain is 80 miles long. I had no idea that I've just lived at the end of the mountain chain. It's still called one mountain, but it's an 80-mile long mountain. Which was pretty interesting. So anyways, it's called Lookout Mountain. It's in 3 states. in Tennessee, Georgia, and Alabama. Runs 80 miles. So, what I'm really saying is that my ability to get something done is hampered by the fact that on a dime, my ability to function can change because I can become so ill that I don't feel well enough to sit up in a chair. Or some days I feel so bad I don't even feel good enough to hold my head up while sitting in a chair. But I have discovered that those are usually on the days when I can't tell the mountain from the sky. And you know, it's because where I sit at my computer, I can see that all the time. Every time I just look to that direction, I can see the mountain. And so I've learned that whenever I'm in really, really bad shape, all I have to do is look over there and it'll give me an explanation as to why. It's just air quality. If I can't see a mile, it must be pretty bad. And I do live by 2 freeways here, so that doesn't help. And there seems to be in this city a problem with hydrogen sulfide gas. Now, it comes from sewers. It comes as an offshoot of the sewers. But it also can be generated geologically by underground activity of water or magma. And when I first lived here about a year or two, I was at this church and, you know, they were feeding homeless people. And we went out in the parking lot and we were sitting out there and got to looking over an overview of the city from the other side of the river on the North Shore. And I realized that the whole city was like encircled by mountains. And it looked dead up like a volcano crater. It looked like a volcanic crater. It blew my mind. Because I was like, wow. But then too, you know, when I was homeless, there was this bridge I stayed under for about 3 years. It was off of a gravel road, and nobody even knew that gravel road existed. So I was relatively safe there. But when it would rain really hard, the water would be like 4 inches deep, and it would go away almost immediately, and air bubbles would come up. I mean, large, like dime-sized air bubbles would come up everywhere. And it gave me a feeling that I was over a hollow space, like potential for a sinkhole or something like that. I discovered, though, later on that there's an underground river. I mean, we're right by the Tennessee River, but there's also an underground river. And I found out through some research that almost every river worldwide has a companion underground river as well. Now, some of the TVA people used to go to that church with us, which is Tennessee Valley Authority, for those of you that's never heard of it. It runs hydroelectric and dams and nuclear power plants, and it runs power for 7 or 8 states or more on the eastern portion of the United States. And it was created back during the Depression. Well, there was a gentleman there, and I told him that I saw a concrete tunnel sticking above ground near a gas station nearby where I was camped at, and that when I looked in it, I saw a river down there that was flowing faster than the Tennessee River. I mean, like 10 times or more faster than the Tennessee River moves. And I told him that, you know, I was worried about some of these homeless people out there drinking, doing drugs. You know, somebody might want to hurt a person, could push somebody in there. And he said, and you know, and I said they'd never be found. He said, no, they'll be found. But that underground river goes through 4 states. They would not find them until 4 states later. Whoa, what a thought. So, underground waterways and like that are known to be associated with volcanoes. And there's a possibility that could explain the hydrogen sulfide gas that I was exposed to. That caused, I think, maybe an additional cause besides protein starvation of why I became disabled. So it may not really be the sewer septic system, which is interesting. See, because here, it's so old, they don't even know where some of it is. The city actually flooded a full story, and the city is actually built on top of the old city, a portion of the old city. You can see windows and things that are at sidewalk level in many areas. Matter of fact, there's a location called the Sports Barn, and there was some work being done there because at one time it had been, instead of a gym, it had been a car showroom, and a long time ago. And they wanted to have these jacks that lifted the cars up for display. They wanted to have this pair of them. They wanted them removed. Well, when this company came in there to remove one of the floor jacks, they discovered an underground river there as well. And they took like a 30-foot metal piece of rebar or something, and they were trying to poke and find the sides, and they could not find the sides of this river. So yeah, hydrogen sulfide gas and volcanic activity. That's also known to be related with earthquakes too, and we are sitting around the Madrid Fault. We're not far from it. And so, you know, I've always been interested in that kind of stuff. And natural disaster type things, you know, just kind of learning how they all mesh together in the natural world. And yeah, they are all tied together, and it's interesting. So anyways, even when I rode buses, come to think of it, people would talk about hearing huge explosions underground around here. And some people said, you know, they called in the city and nobody could explain to them what these noises were. And it was suggested to them that it was maybe a shooting range locally. But the shooting range locally is actually in an opposite direction of these sounds. So there's a lot of other anomalies like that I've seen. One time there was an explosion so big that it sounded like it was thunder, but there was never any lightning. So I'm sure it was an underground explosion of this hydrogen sulfide gas, which is highly explosive. And there are some things about exposure to it that are really interesting. One, it paralyzes your nerves in your nasal, so that you can't smell it when it gets to a certain type of dosage. And my battery is definitely about to shut off, so I've got to go. Bye-bye.